Hello, and welcome to the Human Frequency. Did you know that the past is the wave of the future? I actually didn't know this until about a week ago, and then it finally started to sink in, and I actually feel a lot better knowing this.
Yes, we are moving backwards as we move forwards. What's happening is now things are changing so fast in the world that we have to strip away all these layers of complication and get back to what's real. And I think that through this whole computer virus crisis that's been turned into a human virus, we have seen so much upheaval, and we're seeing the collapse of civilization. It's still going on. I mean, okay, maybe things are reopening, but then Emperor Newsom says, no, no, I decree that you must close again. These kinds of things. So it's just back and forth, back and forth. We think we're getting through this thing, and then the powers that want to be are trying to stop us again. And what it ends up happening is we have to strip all that away, all of these complications that have been piled upon us, all this parasitic stuff that has disrupted the natural human way of living, which we talk about all the time.
And the fact is that every time we do one of these episodes, there's some ungodly new changes going on. There's some new fascist protocol being forced on the people. And it's getting to a point now where I feel like the next time we do an episode, there's going to be some other disaster that people have to deal with. So this pattern is not just going to go away by itself. I think that's abundantly clear by now. So people, it's different for different people.
Yeah.
The solution is different for different people. Ultimately, it's the same for everyone, but it depends on how entrenched in the matrix you are.
Right. Everybody has a different level of attachment to it, and all of us do. And we're still attached to the matrix. We talked about that before. We have a lot of recent episodes where we talked about these things. We may not be smartphone addicts. We may not be controlled by a machine in that way, but we're still completely dependent on the parasitic structure for power, water, and utilities. For our internet service, even if it's hardwired cable internet, we're still dependent on the parasites for all this stuff. And all of those companies are parasitically run.
Yes, but we are not as dependent as a lot of people. And I think case in point is we recently made a trip to LA, and oh my God, what a chaotic disaster that
it's a
was.
mess.
It's every time we go in there, people are more hostile to each other. Driving is more dangerous. I won't even drive in LA anymore.
I do it.
As soon as
I
we
have
hit
10 years more experience. Actually, I think I have 12 years more experience than Gabe.
But the point is, as soon as we hit Valencia, I just say, all right, that's it. I can't do it. I can't compete with that type of aggression on the road. And because everyone is controlled by their GPS
And
it's
smartphone.
it's not even the people. I'm not even surrounded by humans on the
Right.
road like I used to be when I first learned how to drive in 2002. That's completely different now.
Well,
I
we've had to
can't do it.
adapt. We've had to adapt to a different way of driving, and sometimes it's harder for people who don't realize what's going on. Like Gabe's dad had an accident where a car almost hit him, and then he got hurt because he didn't really understand that that car wasn't going to wait for him to cross the street like they're supposed to, because the people are. He doesn't know about what's going on. And if we tried to say, well, that wasn't a human driving that car, it was a mind-controlled machine, I think that would not go over well. So, the other thing is...
I might as well explain to this microphone what's going on because of just in one ear and out the other.
So that's what we're looking at. We have to be very realistic about this. Now, I'm not saying that every human being is completely compromised, but everybody to a degree who is a user is under its control, the control of the AI. And what we're talking about today is just a little update on what's been going on with us in the world and how we need to detach further from the artificial intelligence. In LA, it is very chaotic, and people are completely dependent. Up here in the mountains, we're more in touch with nature. We're still dependent on it. We still have to go down there for stuff, but there is the ability to grow food up here. There is to a degree. It's very cold, but we can grow some fruit. And in the summer, vegetables can be grown. You can raise chickens here. There is an ability to grow food, whereas in LA, more people are starting to get into that, but they're very much more dependent on corporate stores because a lot of people live in apartments, don't have yards, don't have access to the land. So it's understandable that they'd be more dependent. But it's just an energy to it. It's not just that physical dependence, but there's this sort of totalitarian proletariat kind of vibe there. It's kind of hard to explain unless you're in it, but if you live in the city, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's very, very tightly controlled, and the people are doing it to themselves. They don't need someone telling them what to do. They're telling each other what to do. If you don't wear a mask, even where you don't have to, you will get harassed by somebody who is mind controlled to the point where they need you to cover your face in order to be around you.
But the point is, we got through the trip without incident. But it really
That's
left
not true. I had an incident. I had a pretty
not
bad.
not a
I actually want to
physical
share
incident.
it. No physical, but I want to share my incident.
Go for it.
Okay, this is crazy. You will not believe this. Okay, there's a craft store we've been going to for years in the valley where I get the jewelry parts I use for orgonite pendants, and they were closed down because of the computer virus, and then they were reopened finally. So we drove up to it, and I saw that the door was open, and I was really happy that they were open. So I walked up and didn't even enter the store. I cautiously asked the guy behind the counter, "May we come in?" And he said yes. So I said, "Are masks required?" And he said yes. So I put my bandana on my face, which is what I use everywhere I shop. Trader Joe's, Home Depot, the bank, you name it. They accept the bandana as a mask. I put it on and I went to the section where I get my jewelry parts. The next thing I know, another guy who I had never seen before, as I was just holding my mask away from my nose just for a second, still covering my face, but just getting a breath of air, still covered. He says, "You need to wear that on your face." I said, "Okay, sorry, I was just getting a breath." I tightened it. "Okay, it's on all the way." He goes, "That's not even effective. You need a real mask like mine. You can't wear that." And I said, "Well, everywhere I shop, I use this bandana and they let me in." And he says, "Well, they're not effective and you can't be in here." And I said, "Are you serious? Are you kicking me out? Because I usually spend about $75 on jewelry parts when I come in here." He says, "You have to leave." And he kicked me out. The other guy was nowhere to be seen at that point. And the other guy I'd seen before. He probably wouldn't have kicked me out. I got kicked out of the store for wearing a mask that the guy didn't like. That's how far this has gone. That's how crazy the brainwashing is. I was actually being considerate. And I think the whole thing is stupid, but I was being very compliant. I didn't even walk in the store without asking permission. That's how considerate I was being, and I got kicked out. So that's what this world is coming to.
Then I said to you, he's a maskcist.
Yes.
So
that's what's happening.
You can use that term freely, by the way. But
you had another really good one.
I did?
Yeah, mask hole.
Just came up with that. Just I don't know.
Yeah. That's the world we live in now. Can you believe it? I mean, they actually turned down my business after years and years and years of shopping there because one guy had an opinion about my bandana.
I think ultimately what we can gain from this experience, though, is that we really just have to reassess what's important in life. And going into the city and having to deal with that level of psychosis and mind control, it's only going to get worse. Mm-hmm. It can't possibly get better. If you think it's going to get better on its own, then you're just delusional or stubborn or something. I don't know. But
well, a lot of people have hope that it will, but you see they keep bringing it back. They lighten up on us and then now we're going to clamp down on you again. This could go on indefinitely.
And it will, because it's a computer program. The parasitic wannabe controllers are operating on a computer program. They don't have any rational brains to be able to think about, okay, what's our next step going to be? Mm-hmm. What's happening is the parasites are running out of food. And as they run out of food, they're not able to keep this. Their timetable is falling apart too, because they're going to die before the next thing happens. So
a lot of them are dying right now because of orgonite gifting.
They have to do things on the fly, which as parasitic AI, they're not used to that. So they're sort of operating in unknown territory here, and I think it's really backfiring on them. A lot of people, even in the city, are starting to just see how absurd it is. Of course, they're going along with the whole thing anyway, but at least there's some thought process kind of beginning that maybe this just isn't right. Mm-hmm. And at least if they're thinking that far, there is hope. So I think...
Yeah, I mean, people are waking up very slowly. Some are not. Some are. I think that it's a one-by-one thing. That's what I've talked about before. There won't be a mass awakening. There won't be a mass ascension.
And there's gradations too, because any little thing you can do to wean yourself off of the matrix is a good thing ultimately, and will lead to more things down the line.
The most important thing you need to do is to stop using the tracker, which most people won't do, but you need to stop using it unless you are having an emergency or you're out. And I can understand sometimes people's job requires them to, and then you have to turn it off when you're done, because that thing is there to control your mind and keep you stupid. It really is. And also we need to, this is a tough one, but this is the main thing I want to talk about today, is we need to start getting away from the dollar and using their system of trade and commerce, because there's a way out of that. There's a way around it. But as long as we're in communication, so we're talking about communication and trade, two very, very important things. So if we can take the parasites a little bit more out of our communication with each other, they will have less influence, because not only do they control our minds, but as you know, they very, very easily can interfere with your emails. They can say, I don't want this person sending an email to this person. Mm-hmm. And they can just either send it to spam or just cut it off altogether.
Oh, yeah.
They can cut off your phone conversations. If you use a hardwired landline, they can't really do that, which we found when we got our hardwired landline. When our phone was connected with our internet, even though it wasn't Wi-Fi, they could still cut it off because it's via the internet. So anything you can do to take away a little of the control they have over our conversations is huge. And now we're also looking at trade. Why is there this parasitic intermediary between our trades? Commerce is simply trade, but the dollar is that intermediate. If we are going back to barter more, they can't keep track of it. They can't tax it. They can't get involved in it. They can't say you need a license to sell that. They don't know anything that's going on. So that's another thing that we're looking at.
Yeah, removing that intermediary is key. And another thing that I want to mention before we move on is that pertaining to emails, even if you have Proton Mail or one of these so-called encrypted emails, they can still get in there too. Yeah. So don't think that just because you have this encrypted email address that you're going to be safe from that, because it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. If it's out there, they can tamper with it, and that's just a fact.
Well, it's over their networks. I mean, when we used to have email addresses that were associated with thekembo.com, our website, and our hosting company, something really terrible happened over there, and they couldn't even figure out what it was. Our emails got completely hacked and rendered useless. And we couldn't figure it out, and they couldn't figure it out, and I knew that something happened. So it's very easy for people. Well, it's parasitic. The parasites are part of that network. They're part of the AI. The emails are part of the AI. So now we have Gmail accounts, which a lot of people say to us, you shouldn't have Gmail. You should have Proton Mail. To them, I say, Gmail has very, very high security. They make it so hard
to a fault.
To the point where I'm not really worried about someone hacking in. And if anything were to happen to it, I would go to a different account. But I actually find it a little more secure than what we were doing when we weren't using Gmail. It's not ideal. Of course, there's going to come a day where we don't even need email, when we communicate telepathically. That's what I'm looking forward to. But we're not there yet.
That's quite a ways off. But I think what we're getting at here is that anything that the parasites have their tentacles in, anything that they have control over, they will sabotage anything good within that. Mm-hmm. And that also includes e-commerce. Yep. E-commerce is starting to go down the tubes. It's never been great, but going from being usable a few years ago to at the present time, it's almost non-usable.
Well, it's not yet, but it's decaying. It's in a state of atrophy.
It's getting to that point. And the thing is, if you think about it, with all the attacks on regular commerce these days, why would e-commerce be any different? They control one, they control the other. They can do whatever they want to either, mm-hmm. and they will.
Right, because e-commerce, when we're conducting commerce online, which we do, I mean, if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be able to live. That's how people support us. We're able to sell Orgonite and my book, and also get donations. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to gift or do any of the things we're doing. And if you guys knew what it costs us to gift, I'm just going to say, do the math yourself, okay? We've gifted we estimate about 6,500 Tower Busters or so in the last few years. Think about what that costs, including gas and lodging. We've traveled thousands and thousands of miles doing this. And I'm not trying to like guilt trip anybody into donating to us or anything like that, because people are, and we're very, very grateful, and we're doing fine. And we're just eternally grateful to people who have bought our Organite and the book and donated. But just to know what we've put into it, it's tremendous. And so without e-commerce, we would never have been able to do any of that. We wouldn't be able to get by. So I'm not saying it's a terrible thing, but it is a dying animal, because there's so many ways that they screw you through that. And that's why we got off Etsy. You can look at our past videos about that. There was a video about Etsy's war on creativity, women entrepreneurs, and small business. And that was huge, because when you're working with a third party like Etsy, and I'm sure Amazon is the same. We haven't worked with them, but we're not inclined to because of what happened with Etsy. The interference you wouldn't believe. You can go back and listen. They shut down our entire shop over a false trademark claim. One day they just changed all the prices on everybody's shops to include shipping, which was completely inaccurate because we bundle shipping. So they make it sound like every item you get is $10 of shipping. Yeah, so there was things like that going on. And then not to mention that taxes are an issue. Even if you filed the assumed name certificate and are running a business through that legal name properly, if it gets reported wrong, good luck getting that cleared up. So
it's a pain.
Yeah, it's terrible. So when you're working with third parties like that, there's that issue. And currently we're doing our sales through PayPal. That's worked okay because PayPal has business accounts, which is much better than personal. We're going to do an episode about that, because I know everybody's waiting for our next assumed name certificate episode.
But it won't be okay for long.
It won't be okay forever.
That's the underlying theme here, is that these changes are just being forced on people. And again, that goes back to this being a computer program.
Well, let's talk about what changes you're talking about, because you just mentioned changes. The changes we're talking about is that e-commerce is always changing. And I mean, because I didn't mention that yet, so I want people to understand what I'm talking about. E-commerce, it's built into it that it's always updating itself and changing and adding new things, because that's the computer program.
That's why nothing looks the same as it used to. That's why we're always getting those emails saying updated legal agreement or whatever it happens to be.
Or we're going to change the layout of this now, or you need to start using this new version of our program.
Right, and it installs something on your computer without asking you. Or you just log in one day and everything is completely topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
I mean, this I feel like
but
this
happens.
But it's
built into it.
Yeah,
it's
this
built
happens
into the
with
program.
regularity.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence. That's the thing, is we're selling our Organite via AI. So my point is that it is slowly dying. It's still usable, and we're very thankful that we're able to sell Organite and survive and gift and everything we've done. But what I've noticed recently, which is very nice, is just in the last week and a half or so, I had one person write me a letter as opposed to emailing. And I've been getting more letters. People say, I don't want them reading this. It's too private. Because everything you email, even if you're using encrypted mails, they're reading it all. It's the AI that you are using their network. So I got a nice letter, very lovely, and open in a way that wouldn't have been possible by email for this individual. And so that was very nice for her to be able to do that. And I was able to reply back with a letter. And I got an envelope with some cash in it from somebody who wanted Tower Busters but didn't want to order online. And they didn't let me know in advance. They just mailed it. And we actually made their Tower Busters today. So if you're listening, those Tower Busters are on the way very soon.
We made sure the bills weren't counterfeit first. No offense. But, just protecting ourselves.
So that Organite's going to go out. And then I got another one where they emailed me and they said, I want to buy your book with a money order. I don't want to do it online. And I said, perfect. Let's do it that way. So we've been seeing that it's not just us that's feeling this, but that other people are feeling like they want to get away from the AI parasites reading every single communication, being in the middle of our transactions. Why are we involving them if we don't have to? Yeah. I think the only reason is convenience. I think it's very, very easy for people to just click a few buttons. Okay, I just ordered something. Yeah, that's very easy. But we have to understand that they have a virus. It's a very bad virus. While we were in LA, we came back and there was like about 8 messages on our answering machine from Apple. We don't even use Apple products. I have an Apple iPhone that we use
I don't
like
even know
5
how they
minutes a
got our
month.
number.
I think it was a mistake. There was 8 messages, an automated message from Apple from a 408 number. Yeah, 408 Silicon Valley. Yeah. No. So I'm saying
Gifted,
I'm saying to
thoroughly
Gabe,
gifted.
oh, look, the AI is short circuiting. That we must have Organite right by wherever that was happening because we gifted that place. So it is going away. It's dying. They're dying, and we are starting to move off of that. So, like, what I'm saying is, if you want to support our work and buy a book or Organite and you don't want to do it online, feel free to email and we could do it offline. I mean, you could email us just to let me know you're there
Yeah.
and we could do it offline.
Well, the point is we encourage this.
Yeah.
We'd like for this
And
to
we
happen
like letters.
more.
You can write us letters.
Yeah, we'd like for this to happen more, and also to remember that that convenience we were talking about, that comes at a price every time. So when we rely too much on convenience, I'm trying to put this in a softer way, but the only way I can put it is that we get screwed in other ways. So
Yeah.
when you do the one, expect the other. And until we break that pattern, we're just going to keep getting screwed collectively. And this is what needs to stop. And we're all going through transitions right now, and that includes us.
Yeah, it's a forced transition in a way for most people because of the computer virus and the shutdown of all the businesses, which we had an episode about that. This whole human virus thing they're talking about, this overreaction to the kind of disease that happens every year during flu season, is really just a cover for the fact that they can't function anymore. And I just want to mention before we talk about our changes that because of the changes we're going through, which are very positive, we have seen extremely high orgone days, amazing transmutation. Yesterday, it was sublime. It's never like that where we are. It was dead silent. It's never that way. The light, the golden light was coming through the trees at sunset. It was quiet, peaceful. I can't even describe. It was
amazing.
It was
You could
not
hear-
even, it was like a dream. It
You
was
could
like
hear
dreamlike.
the air flowing through the pine needles
Yeah.
in the trees. It was that still and quiet.
And above us, there was almost no planes because the planes, mostly from our observation, and you can see this in my book and some of my blog entries, from our observation, the planes that fly are mostly masking the AI crafts, the parasitic craft that come through our dimension. They come here to feed off of us. They come here to put negative energy into the earth, DOR, and to negate all of the life-affirming energy of the earth and to feed off of the misery and suffering of humans, animals, and plants. But when we use Organite and saturate this world with orgone energy, it repels them. And Wilhelm Reich found this too. It literally repels them. So the crafts were coming through and leaving chemtrails, which twisted and broke in the most dramatic ways. I mean, more dramatic than I had seen most of the time. I've seen this a few times, especially when gifting a new place. But what we saw last night, I have to post on the blog, which I will do. It was astonishing, the clear energy. So we see that they can't travel through. They're either being repelled or they're dying. And when you feel that clear energy, that sublime clarity, then you know that the world is recovering. So ultimately, they're just having a panic attack and a big hissy fit right now because they're dying and they can't feed off of us.
And the way we can react to their hissy fit is quite simply don't choose to be lied to. Everything about this so-called virus out there is a lie.
It's
And
all
I mean
lies.
everything. No one's talking about how this is just a computer virus.
Yeah.
Humans,
Nobody knows that except us. We figured that out because of the timeline of it, how we gifted Silicon Valley and this stuff just started happening right after that, and other things that we've been doing to disrupt the program with Organite gifting and just confusing their digital data.
no humans are getting anything. So all of these lies about how there are these spikes in different places, it's just BS.
Well, there were
look-
back in January. Back in January, people were getting sick with a terrible, terrible flu. I know a bunch of people who got it, but
It was really nasty.
It was bad, but
for
it was
about a
months
couple
ago.
weeks, and then that was it.
And I think by February, probably by March, it was really dying out. And that's when they started ramping this up. That they're using that, something that happens every year. It was a particularly bad one. It might have been a biowarfare bug, but people got it and lived. So they're using that as a cover for their computer virus. And yeah, we're probably the only ones talking about it because we're the only ones that know the depths of how much the AI is involved in human life. But our transitions are what we've been praying for years. And so we would like to share with you that we are moving to a different lifestyle where we're moving into an agrarian lifestyle. We've been given a great blessing, which is we are going to work on the land for our rent now, which is, it's something we've been praying for years. We're going to remove a little more dependence on the dollar now.
Yes, but the key to it all is that this is part-time work, and we will still have most of the day to do our Oregon energy work and to continue putting out content like this. So it's not going to completely go away.
Right, we're still here, but we are going to be transitioning. So part of our time is going to be spent doing work, actually physical work for our housing, which is something that we have been praying for because that's a huge, huge part of, I mean, most of what we make is going to pay for the house. I mean, rent is most people's biggest expense. So then that's going to help us.
Working the land is what we want to be doing.
We're going to be taking care of animals.
And again, it goes back to getting off of the dollar and just doing straight up barter.
Yeah.
A trade like that of rent and utilities, by the way, rent and utilities for labor, that's just wonderful in so many ways because A, it's not tracked, and B, there's no way to devalue it.
Yeah, that's another thing. When the dollar collapses.
One real tangible thing is worth another real tangible thing, and there's no middleman, and there's no one's getting screwed in the deal. So that's the kind of thing that we really wanted to get into. Mm-hmm. And it's also the kind of thing that we encourage others to do because it's going to be inevitably way more rewarding than commuting to an office cubicle, if you even do that anymore.
I don't know. Some people can, some people can't. A lot of people have to wear masks in their own office. It's very demoralizing, this mask thing.
But whatever it is, it's being a cog in the machine that's the kind of thing that we have to get away from. And yeah, step one is choose not to be lied to. You'll start seeing things a lot more clearly, and you'll start to see how that whole system is just an illusion. It's a fake manufactured reality, and we have to get away from it and connect again with the earth and return to our creator, God. So,
and when you do stuff like this, you're in his world. And I'm not saying it's easy to get a thing like this. We've been praying for a way to live that way for a long time. We don't have the ability with the income we make with Organite, obviously, to get a piece of land and do that. We just don't. There's just no way. But God knew that, and he answered our prayers, and he came up with a way for us to do it. I mean, he can do anything. He can do anything. I said, it's impossible. We're never going to get out of here. We're never going to get on a piece of land. And this is the first step, and we've been given the green light to plant our own food there too. So, I mean, it's just a dream come true, and I'm not saying something like this is easy, but we've been praying for it for years and years and years. And so it's not like we have been sitting on our hands here. We've wanted this for a long time. We've prayed for it, and we've worked very, very hard to restore his creation and come back to him and do everything he says. We follow the rules. We are rule followers because we follow God's rules.
Real rules.
I don't follow the false leaders, the false rulers. And I actually came up with a really good bar idea if anyone wants to do it, a bar and grill, to open up in LA and stay open despite the quarantines. If anybody, because I have a million of these great ideas for businesses that I'll never do. It's called F. Newsom, okay, F. Newsom, bar and grill, open 24/7, disease or no.
Masks are prohibited.
So, I mean, that would be great if someone wanted to do that. None of these things that the governor is saying that we have to do are law, by the way. People need to start standing up more and standing up for their own rights, that the rights come from God. But if you're asking the government for God-given rights, good luck, because they cannot give you that.
Yeah, you can't just have some guy standing on a podium making a decree and circumventing the legal process. It doesn't work that way. So these are not laws. These are just suggestions made in the hope that people believe it. And the less people that do, the more of the wind we can take out of their sails. And yes, this is a big change for us. So for the next month or so, we may not be doing as much content as we'd like.
We're going to try, though. We're going to try.
We will try, but we can't promise anything. But what we do promise is that we will return when things get back to normal and keep doing the same thing that we've been doing and keep putting out the same information, because now more than ever, it's the time to get out of what's fake and start getting back to what is real again.
And there's one other thing that I really, really hope that you'll do, which is to make and gift Orgonite, because we're at a place in life right now where we've spent 6 years traveling huge distances. We would have to make, sometimes we would make 500 tower busters it takes a long time to do, but we would make 500 tower busters for ourselves in preparation for a trip. Then we would go out and do that gifting trip, sometimes over 1,000 miles from home. And we've done this over and over and over again because we had to get this whole land saturated with Orgonite. And now more and more people are watching our how to make Orgonite videos, which you can see here on YouTube, or you can also go to the website, thekembo.com, in the Orgone Energy section, and there are embedded videos there. So please watch the tutorials, because right now, more than ever, we have put out so much of our own effort and resources into this. It's a very huge amount of Orgonite that we've put out there. And we're hoping that more people will join in, because it's a very unsafe time to travel. To be honest, I'm a little nervous about it these days. The more that I go out there, the more I want to stay up here. And I feel like you probably feel the same way. So my best advice is, if everybody who cares just makes even a dozen tower busters and puts them in their own neighborhoods, what a difference that would make. And that would take a lot of the burden off of us, because I don't want to say the amount of money that it costs to do this, but it's kind of crazy. But if you do just a few, it's not crazy. But if you do like thousands of them, it's overwhelming.
The point is, it's time for you to begin where we end, and we're not ending. It's just I'm being.
It's a transition.
Metaphorical. We're not able to do things on the same scale as we used to. It is more dangerous out there, and there's so much ground to cover. So yes, by making just a dozen and doing your immediate area, you will make such a huge difference, because you know that other people are doing it too. And eventually this whole false reality, this hologram that we've been living in, will just come crashing down even more than it already is.
And making Orgonite is way more contagious than any virus, because once you start doing it, it changes the way people think around you. More people wake up, and people just love to make it. So once you get started and you feel it, you're going to want to make more and more, and you're going to want to share it with people. And don't feel bad if people don't understand. The best thing you could do, especially if people don't understand, you can make them a very pretty Orgonite. I've got a tutorial on how to make little pyramids, just like our ziggurat pyramids. You can copy them and give them as gifts to people. You don't have to tell them what they do. You can make the tower busters. We've got another video on that. Put them by the cell towers in your area. Don't fear the 5G. Just gift your neighborhood and don't use it. That's all you need to do. It's not going to hurt you if you don't use it and if you gift it.
Put them by the towers and just see what happens.
Yeah, it is like, it's addicting. Orgonite gifting is addicting. You'll see. That's why we've gifted as much as we have. You just want to do more and more and more.
It's not just DOR that's addictive. OR is too.
It is. And we plan on doing a lot more projects. But right now, it's not the safest time for us to be traveling. And we are beginning a lifestyle where we're going to have to take care of a lot of animals every day. So we're going to be up here for a while. We are going to continue doing these teaching videos, especially stuff people have been asking us a lot of questions on our name and identity videos. We're going to move on to the next step on that shortly. And I hope that those videos have helped you to understand the difference, so that you don't have to worry about forced vaccines and all that stuff. And remember who your creator is.
Most
Always
of all,
remember who made you, and he loves you.
That's the most important thing of all.
So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back again as soon as possible with more updates and more information for you. Our website is thekembo.com. It's in the description below, and you could check out what we do there, read up on my articles, check out our videos on there. There's a bunch of interviews and things too that other people have asked us some really good questions, so you could check that out. Thank you. We'll see you again real soon.